So hey, I'm Laura Daniel and welcome to Laura Loves New York. I am here with the award-winning...
Oh, yeah.
Yes! The award-winning composer, Andy Monroe.
So many awards.
Andy received the Outer Critics Circle Award for the musical The Kid, book by Michael Zamm, lyrics by Jack Leshner. They all received the BMI Jerry Bach Award, and Andy received the BMI Award a second time for his musical Drive, after a lunch with the legendary lyricist Sheldon Hart. But Andy and I met at the New York Musical Theater Festival over a decade ago.
Yeah, can you believe it?
Crazy.
You played the Singing Nun in the show that I wrote the score for called The Tragic and Horrible Life of the Singing Nun.
The musical was based on the play by Blair Fell, in which a drag queen nun tells the story of the rise and fall of the singing nun, including her 20-year love affair with a woman named Annie, played by Tracy Gilbert. And I'm a huge fan of Andy's work.
She's great.
And so I asked Andy to write the theme song for Laura Loves New York.
Want to run through it?
Sure! Laura loves New York, the busy streets, the tasty treats, the awesome folks that you're bound to meet, the seats, the pleats, the funky beats that make me want to pop my cork. 'Cause Laura loves New York. I want you to sing it. Will you sing it? 'Cause Laura loves New York. Woo! I like your sound because it's very contemporary, although you do very well with the 60s as well.
Well, that was Singing Nun.
Singing Nun,
Yeah,
very Burt Bacharach.
Yeah, that was fun. I love that stuff. Like, I had the Beatles Abbey Road on the other day. And Because, you know the song Because? There is the chord progressions on that are just, there is so much happening musically in that is so exciting to me.
So what music did you grow up listening to?
Well, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. So I grew up with them. A lot of Stevie Wonder, Carole King. I was the odd kid who was listening to Stephen Sondheim. I was taking the cast album of Company and Pacific Overtures and all of this stuff out of the library all the time. And my brothers and sisters were probably like...
I was the odd kid. Thank goodness for public libraries because that's what I found, Anything Goes and Gypsy and like all that great musical theater, and it was like, it was a haven. I grew up in a very small town. Where did you grow up?
In Ottumwa, Iowa, which is also smallish. Yeah.
Ottumwa.
Yeah. In the show M.A.S.H., the character Radar O'Reilly is from Ottumwa, Iowa. They're always mentioning that. And there's also some Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin movie. I remember we were watching as kids on some Saturday afternoon or something, and all of us, they're doing some dance and song or whatever. All of a sudden the music stops and Jerry screams, "I'm from Ottumwa, Iowa." And we were like, what?
What brought you to New York?
When I was in college, they found out I could play the piano, so they started me playing for the dance classes. And that sort of became my fallback skill, and that is what I do now. But the summer that I graduated from college, I was playing at this dance camp in Colorado, and there was a woman from Brooklyn College who, she said, "Come out to Brooklyn, I'll give you a job." So that was the next thing to fall in my lap, so I just came to New York.
Wow.
So that was it.
Now, when did you start playing piano? How old were you?
Oh, maybe 3 or 4 years old. I was I was one of those ear people, that I'm a terrible reader. See, I know well enough to be able to write my own scores, but it's not my favorite.
But that you could hear it. That's what fascinates me. Is people can play by ear.
My mother tells this story that she's in the kitchen and she hears someone playing the piano and she comes in and there I am, this little toddler, playing the song called "Catch a Falling Star." I mean, there's only 12 pitches in the scale that repeat over and over.
Right.
So as you go up or as you go down. So that's it's a pretty small language to learn, much smaller than English. So in a way, it makes sense that maybe I was up there plunking and sort of putting the language together in my head, and then maybe that was the first time it sounded like music.
So did your mom play piano?
She did not. My mother played guitar, and she did at some point give guitar lessons. She also played guitar in in the 1970s, we were Catholic. There was something called the Guitar Mass. And they had these newer hymns that were like, wake up, my people, wake up, give a shout, wake up, it's time now, know what life's about. So it has all these, almost like kind of up with people kind of stuff.
Folksy.
Yeah. It was like the Guitar Mass.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I was an altar boy. It was the whole thing. Yeah.
Wow. No wonder you were able to write for the Singing Nun so well.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So how did you get into composing and writing?
You know, I started shortly after I was plunking on the piano at that young age. I just started making up my own songs and my own tunes and what have you. Yeah, I was writing a musical for the neighborhood kids. I don't know. I was probably in 5th or 6th grade or something. It was called the Ragglety Tagglety Man. It was I still remember one of the songs. There was a maid. She was like the maid of the king. And she has this song, I sweep a little here and I sweep a little there, washing underwear. I scrub on the floor and I scrub more and more. Every day it's the same old thing, it's Maid. That isn't my name. They act like I'm still in the 1st grade. I'm getting sick and tired of Maid.
Maid. How old were you when you read that?
I don't know.
That's
It's nuts. I think I was like in the 6th grade or something.
Well, it's funny. When I was in 2nd grade, I would write plays for my classmates to put on.
I wrote a lot of plays too.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough drama in school.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, show and tell. I'm going to write a play and we're all going to do it. It's an adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but what else?
Yeah.
So you were a singer-songwriter. Is that where your 5 albums started to culminate?
I started somewhere along the line when I was playing for dance classes. I started vocalizing. For years, dancers would come up and say, wow, do you have a recording of this kind of stuff? And, because I'm making everything up on the spot, I didn't sing words. I would just vocalize over the top. So I finally made a couple of recordings for people to either teach to or to listen to or whatever, for dancers maybe. So that's the Joyful Noise Disc 1 and Joyful Noise Disc 2. And then I made another one called Rain. And then I had written a song cycle about taking care of a friend who was dying of AIDS back in the 90s. And that became an album called Days of Hope and Circumstance.
Look, the sun has brought another day to your window. Up against the glass, all brightness and full of hope.
And every Christmas you do a Christmas song.
I do. I actually do a winter song. That way, anyone who celebrates anything or doesn't celebrate anything at all can enjoy it for a whole season. Yeah.
Remembering some time that we had long ago.
And it's a great gift. It really is.
It's fun.
We look forward to getting it every year. So when you write, what comes to you first? Does a melody catch you first, or
usually it's the hook, the lyric hook, which is usually the thing it's often the title, the thing that's repeated several times.
It's the grand gesture. Oh yes, it's a man who has a passion and pursues it with finesse. The only one for me who'll find success. Yes, it's the grand gesture. Oh God, how I've longed for a man who knows the art. So
I usually end up crafting the chorus first, and then I'll sometimes go kind of music first for the verse. But then, come bridge time, I'll be like, there's information I want to get out that I haven't gotten in the song yet. So I'll end up just writing a lyric for that and thinking, I'll set that musically.
In my car out on the freeway,
Andy's musical drive has a great bridge.
In a sea, and there's no one that I know, and no one that I owe, and no one on this earth I have to be. I'm free.
Whatever. So it becomes a combination of music first, lyric first.
Who inspires you musically?
Sondheim really is kind of king.
Stephen Sondheim gave Andy feedback on his musical drive as part of a musical theater writing masterclass. He said that the lyrics came completely from the characters. There was no trace of the author within them, which he said, coming from him, was high praise indeed.
Just musically and lyrically, he's just You know, he's incredible.
Yeah.
But there are others, like particularly musically, a lot of Jason Robert Brown.
And I know you met Ahrens and Flaherty.
Oh yeah. I was a Dramatist Guild fellow for a year, and they were moderating. They were the moderators for that program. They were so great, so generous.
Is it difficult to collaborate, or do you prefer to write solo?
I like it both. I would say probably I have a little preference for writing solo, just because I feel like I know the characters in a very personal way when I write by myself, and I feel like when you're collaborating with someone, you know, you talk about the characters like they're out there. Writing musicals and getting musicals produced are completely different things. You want to be a team player. You don't want to stifle someone else's process because they're finding their way inside it and so on. And yet you also don't want it to go too far from a vision that you had, unless you really love the new vision. But that's the best. If you have collaborators who are lifting the piece to another level, that's so exciting.
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
great.
So inspiring.
Yeah. I'm actually co-writing a book with someone now, that so that's interesting.
My big question
ready for
is,
this.
if you had any advice you could give your younger self, what would it be?
My advice to my younger self would be to pay attention to your own path. Don't get caught up in what other roads people are taking. I was the Dramatist Guild fellow with a pair of very talented young guys. And when we left, their careers took off like very few do in the business. And now, you know, they write film scores, they've had Broadway shows, they've had a Tony Award winning show. Very talented and very, very sweet and generous guys. I love them. But it's sort of like every time I see it, there's this little thing in me that's like, but I'm not there. I'm not getting that, you know, whatever. It's not about that. You know, you're in it to create work that you want to put out there. And you wouldn't have written what they wrote anyway. I mean, you know, that's the thing.
Right.
That doesn't come out of you, that comes out of them. You need to be true to your own voice. You need to just stick with it and not get discouraged if the awards aren't coming, the recognition isn't coming. Is that why you're doing it? I mean, you're really doing it for the art, to put it out there. What you're doing has worth. Your vision is enough.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. I see all of the great things that you have created, and I just go, wow, I'm so proud of you. And I'm inspired by your work, and I know that I'm not the only one. And I think that it's a great lesson. Enjoy the successes as you keep crafting. And that's the other lesson I hear you saying, and that's resonating with me, is keep creating. You never know what other deliciousness might come.
Right.
And if you stop, or if you let something deter you, then the world doesn't get that gift.
Well, and that's that famous Martha Graham quote that she wrote to Agnes de Mille. And it is along those lines, something like, you know, there's only one of you in all of time, and the art that comes out of you is unique because of that. And if you stop it, if you don't give it, the world will not get it.
Exactly.
My favorite quote.
Go out there, guys, create.
Do it.
Have fun. Do it! Yay! Oh my God, I adore you. And thank you so much again for
Laura.
joining me.
It's great.
And thank you for writing my theme song. I love it so much. 'Cause Laura loves New York. Gotta give a shout out to Andy's incredibly cool wall of album covers, which he made, and a big thanks to Andy himself for his talent and time.